a joy that you have found us for this podcast. How exciting it is to think that this spiritual message is going out to people around this planet. Whether your life is working at a peak level or whether it can use some enhancement, have I got the message for you today. So get a piece of paper, get ready to take notes, call a friend, have them watch this podcast also. Then you too can have something to talk about and take it to a deeper level. So enjoy. Here we go. Hey, good morning, Seaside. What a joy it is to be here today with all of you on, it's absolutely a fabulous day, a day in which we have the opportunity to share and can just feel that wonderful presence of God. And this year I've been involved with sharing some timeless truths for transformation. And one of the classics that comes from the beginning of recorded history is about service. And we heard that, faith without good works is dead. You can have faith, but unless you're able to put it into practice, unless you're able to serve, unless you're allowing those concepts and those experiences and expressions to move through you, it's just a bunch of hot air. It is about being able to live this and to be that. And the mystics and the great teachers from the early days on forward have all talked about that when one has those moments of enlightenment and those moments of those higher levels of experience, there comes the desire to serve. Once you have your world healed, once you got your world put together, once you got your world just happening, then what else is there but to step out and to begin to share that, to put it out into the world and to be able to be that expression for life. Otherwise, you're self-centered. Right? Otherwise, you're self-serving. You're not serving others, you're self-serving. And it's like, okay, God, give me some more. I saw a fun Groucho Marx piece about room service. He calls a room service. Room service? Bring up a larger room. All of a sudden, once you figure out how to work, come on, Spirit, bring more into my life. That's not the way it works. It's how can I give more to life? How can I allow it to move through me? And I want us to understand that this concept of being in service and of faith is very tough for the rational mind to grasp. The rational mind actually questions whether or not you even have a soul. I mean, its job is to take control, and to think that you might have a soul or a spirit that is beyond the rational mind, that doesn't go over well. Matter of fact, it considers faith a liability, thinking that, if you're putting it out there and you don't know how it's going to turn out, it's my job to protect you from this kind of activity. The concept of, just surrendering to the spiritual alchemy of the divine unfoldment, when the rational mind, it wants guarantees. It wants a guarantee that you're not going to lose your financial worth and value in the world. It wants to make sure you're not ruining yourself. And so to be in service and to be in that place of surrender, allowing God to use you and to move through you, really shakes with the mind that wants control of it all. So I'm just giving you a heads up. It's about really just allowing that spirit to move in your life and in your world. Because when you're trying to overthink it, and that's part of the challenge with spirituality, are the real clever people, the ones that got that real sharp brain, sometimes it is difficult for them to let go and surrender because the logic it doesn't get it. How can I? But I'll tell you something a brilliant mind said. Actually, Dr. Albert Schweitzer, brilliant heart, huge humanitarian, a person who was a good balance between the head and the heart and lived his life in service. He said, I don't know what destiny is going to be, but what I do know is those individuals that are going to be the happiest are those who have sought and found how to serve. I don't know what destiny is going to be. I don't know what tomorrow is going to look like, but what I know is right now, those that are living in that place of service where that spirit is moving through them, where that kindness is moving through them, where that life force is moving through them, they're going to be the happiest because they're living in the joy of this moment. They're living in a sense of service. One of the keys to living this spiritual life is being that place through which spirit moves. It expresses. You can then begin to step out and be that in the world. If you want to go save the planet, it's a good idea to incorporate God into the plan. If you want to save the world, God needs to be involved. But I want to also give you a heads up that Spirit wants to save the world and needs you. You are essential through which that life force moves. You are essential through which it needs to express. And so as you begin to trust that and let go to that, it is a matter of letting go and trusting and listening to that intuition and that gut hunch and that insight, and your mind begins to say, but, how does it all fit together? Where do I fit in here? You know what? You don't need to know how you fit in here. What you need to do is to listen to that gut and to that intuition. I can't tell you how many people have walked through that back door on a Sunday morning or on the way out and said, Christian, I had this hunch a few years ago that I was to leave my job and move to San Diego, and I didn't do it. My head was saying, why leave a perfectly good job, on the East? And once again, they come through and say, you know what? I should have listened to my gut. I should have listened to my hunch because now I understand. It's like you've got to learn to listen and honor that. It's not about having faith. It's about putting it into work. It's about putting it into action. Because if you're not listening to that intuition, if you're not listening to that gut sense, and I'll tell you what, you're going to start losing it. Because if you don't listen, it will shut down. Or it gets louder, one or the other. It can go either way. I've actually watched people who wouldn't listen and missed out on the good and missed out on the wonderful opportunities, all of a sudden begin to be very jumpy and listen to it more often than not. You can go either way, but it's important for you to be that place where that Spirit is moving in your life and in your world, and to know that the divine has a wonderful opportunity to express, and it needs you to express through for it to manifest in this world of form. And so here is the key. Your spiritual practices, it's whatever is before you. Yeah. Whatever is before you, that's your place to practice. That is where you are to implement your surrender, your participation, your service. I remember when I first started doing dishes, not my favorite thing, I can assure you. And pots and pans were the worst aspect of having to do dishes. And yeah, you agree. And you heard about the whole dish thing last week when I talked about Thich Nhat Hanh and being present and Brother Lawrence and the mystic of dishes and all that. But what I used to practice, when I was doing dishes, was not being mystical. It was about being loud. When I was doing the pots and pans, I made a lot of noise and clanging, so everybody around knew, look at what Christian's doing. I was really noisy. Oh, isn't Christian a good kid? He's doing the dishes. Man, I'd clang and make all sorts of noise. I'm in service, everyone. You're noticing, aren't you? Until there was one time I was a guest in somebody's house, and I got to do the pots, and it was a wok pan, and I scrubbed that thing. I made so much noise that everybody in the house knew I was scrubbing that thing spotless, and then they came out afterwards and, Christian, don't you realize woks are supposed to be what they call seasoned? They're supposed to have that flavor and that use, and now we got to start over with seasoning that pot again. Oh, man, I learned. But that's the thing. Wherever you are, that gets to be your spiritual practice. Alan Cohen shares when he used to share a house and have roommates, they had the signs in the kitchen for the various chores to be done, and somebody crossed out the sign that said chores and wrote in there, blissful karma yoga. How are you going to be in service? How are you going to be used by the Spirit of God? Whatever it is, it's by practicing that which has been put before you. I can remember on various occasions, I've had moms usually, but parents say to me, hey, Christian, I would love to go on one of your trips, but you know what? I've got a bunch of kids at home. Not a bunch. I've got some children at home. Yeah. And, I can't leave them. Well, I wanted to reassure them, that's your spiritual practice is parenting right now. There's nothing more spiritual than parenting. Particularly if you've got a teenager you're attempting to get through high school, it is not any more valuable attempting to get that teenager through high school than it is feeding the starving in Africa. It is being fully present and doing that which is before you in a place of service. And I got to tell you, if some of our spiritual leaders had been more spiritually nourished with kids, we probably wouldn't be in the challenges that are on our planet here today. Let us be in that place of bringing forth the presence wherever we are, not with a place of judgment, and realizing that whoever they are, or whoever that person is, or whatever it is someone else is doing, that is their perfect place of service, and it's not up to me to judge what they are doing is any greater or less than what I am doing. I remember, sometimes in the early days of going to the doctor, I said, man, these guys, they are serving humanity. Not quite Albert Schweitzer, but, they're doing good. It's like, wow. And then one time I was going on a hospital visit, and my car wouldn't start. And there I am, stuck, and I have to call somebody to come give me a jump, and some mechanic or auto club guy comes out, gives me a new battery, and boom, the car starts, and I think, wow, man, this guy's good. Without him, I would never made it to the hospital. Now, come to think of it, if the doctors didn't have mechanics, they could never make it to the hospital anyway. So maybe the mechanics are even more spiritual and of service than the doctors, because without them, the doctors would never make it. And then I went to visit this kid there, and he was hooked up to all these tubes and these monitors and these heart things and these computers. He's an IT computer guy. And I couldn't help but to think, man, without people like him who know how to do computers, these doctors wouldn't have any monitors to read. They wouldn't be able to do the angioplasties and be able to watch it on the screen. Matter of fact, if something went wrong with these monitors, they probably wouldn't even know how to fix it. So I got to tell you, these IT guys, computer guys, these computer geeks are probably even more important than the doctors. So now I realize, well, it's doctors, mechanics, they're of as much value in a place of service as anyone else who's walking this planet. And I don't care what you're doing in your place of employment, you are part of the greater expression, because without you, it could not be serving humanity. You are valuable in your service. And when you are able to serve with heart, when you're able to serve with passion, you're making a difference, not only in the activity, but in the vibration of the atmosphere in the office in which you're participating in. And as you give that kind of divine vibration and energy, it comes back to everybody involved. Ralph Waldo Emerson, one of the great American essayists, wrote this one essay called Compensation. And he said that one of the most beautiful compensations is that when you sincerely give, you cannot help but to receive good back. When you sincerely give to assist another, actually he said to assist another, when you sincerely give to assist another, you cannot help but to receive good back. That is the compensation. That is the reciprocity. That is the law of cause and effect. It is not why you do it, but it is how it works in the scheme of things. So what is it you're looking at? What is it you're seeing? Mother Teresa gave us a classic example when she said she's working, with the poor, with the sick, with the dying. She said what she does is she tries to see the Christ that is within them. She doesn't look at the condition, doesn't look at the mistakes. When Mother Teresa tells us her practice is to look for the Christ that is within those individuals, within those people, and the difficulty that they're in. And that service is to be that place to recognize the presence of God. Rumi said that whenever he faces anything that is separate, all I want to do is know you, God. Whenever I face something that is separate, all I want to do is know you, God. And when you're facing controversy, or you're facing exhaustion, or sickness, or challenge, whenever I face sickness, all I want to do is know you, God. Let me know you here, God. Let me be a place where I get to be that God activity. Let me be that place where I am seeing the beloved in all things and in all people. The person you're sitting next to, if you can look into their eyes and see that Christ as Mother Teresa does, or if you can see their Buddha presence or the Krishna consciousness, what you can do for the beloved is to be the place that sees the presence of God. This is how you can serve the divine, is to be able to look in a situation and all I want to do is see God here. This is how you awaken your heart. This is how you bring forth a global heart. This is how you get to be that place and that activity that God is. Someone once asked Gandhi, said, how can you sacrifice so much for India? He said, I don't sacrifice for India. I do it for myself. I do it for myself. I do it for myself alone. And as I begin to do it, for myself, because it feels good to be in service. It feels good to participate. It feels good to bring forth the presence of God where people are experiencing separation or pain or scarcity or lack. It feels good to be that one who makes the difference in the office environment or at work or jump in the car and getting it going. But it feels good. That's what comes back to me. And there's something the Upanishads say, or what they call this, is they say it's God feeding God. Ooh, I like that one. It's God feeding God. That is what you are. And so what is imperative is that you have a big enough vision that you're stepping forth in service to that. I know one of the keys to a successful spiritual community is that it has a vision that is bigger than itself. Yes, we take care of the family and each other. That is definitely high on the priority list, is to be able to do our best in supporting each other. We've brought Denise on to be head of our pastoral care and to be able to field whatever requests that are out there for spiritual support. But also we have the vision of serving in a bigger way. We have a vision of our heart-to-heart ministry where we are able to take our hands and our bodies and our spirit off our campus into the town and to make a difference. We have our podcast that is viewed by thousands of people around the planet every week. We have up on the hill during the week in elementary school with 44 children in there. We have here 75 children that came on Easter. We are serving the youth, so we are helping to support the world leaders of the future who come forth with the spiritual principles of self-worth and knowledge. There's a vision that is bigger than just our personal stuff, but there's something that is calling us in a collective way to step out to make a difference in the world, to add to the collective emerging consciousness for the greater good of humanity. It's an interesting story that a gentleman by the name of Gil shared. In his younger days, he was traveling in Morocco and out in the Sahara, and they got out there. He and his buddy were brought in to a Bedouin tent, and their custom is to treat guests as if they're royalty. And he said for 2 or 3 days they were treated like kings. They were just lavished with everything imaginable. And when they went home, Gil said that what he came to realize is that it's not that we were kings, it was that they were royalty. And that is how royalty behaves, is that they share, they give, they are that expression of generosity. They're in a place of serving in the middle of a harsh desert, and what they can do is be an oasis and to be a place of caring. And that's what you can do with humanity. If you take 10 or 15 minutes a day just to serve, just to take a moment and touch another person, I want you to realize that those 10 or 15 minutes of your service makes a far greater impact upon the one you touch than 10 or 15 minutes. The whole feeling of love and being touched is huge. And what comes back to you is far greater than 10 or 15 minutes. The resources, the feeling, the energetic sense, the revitalization is extremely valuable. I got to tell you, in our classes, what we'll do sometimes is we'll pray for each other. Everybody in the class will pray for somebody. They'll hook up with prayer partners. And what is amazing is that the whole consciousness of the room is uplifted. It's as if the air becomes lighter and celestial and clean. And if you could see on an energetic level, you would see all these golden energetic cords, a connection going back and forth, and how we are all interconnected. And it's in this moment of stopping and pausing and caring that you're making a difference. You are the activity of God's grace when you're serving. When you're serving, you are God's grace made manifest. That is how valuable you are. That's why I said Spirit needs you. Because otherwise it's just this faith without the good works. You get to be the place of its expression. That's why I remind us, or at least I like to remind myself, that this day will never come again. When I stop to realize the profoundness of that statement, that this day will never come again, that the person I'm sitting next to today, I will never sit next to them again in this same kind of way. They will have changed. They will have hopefully evolved, or at the table, you're sitting across from somebody you love. Do you know that moment and that time for interaction and that intimacy will never be there again, that this moment is a profound moment, that the sunset tonight, you will never be able to see that again, that this day will never come, and it's what you make of this day today. And I intend to let us think about making this day filled with service and giving and loving and caring, because you make a difference. And the more you are willing to be that and to reach out, the more individuals you'll touch in your life and in your world. And so I guess I want to wrap up this morning. I don't want to guess. I want to wrap up this morning by just acknowledging you and thanking you from the fullness of my heart for the privilege and for the honor of being able to serve you. God bless you. Again, a lot of heart and soul and passion. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am prosperous now. Hey, I trust you enjoyed that podcast. It was very exciting to be able to create that and to know that there are people like you all around the world that are observing and integrating these spiritual principles into their life. And so if you enjoyed it, what I'd like to do is encourage you to tell a friend or bring several friends together and watch another one of these podcasts. And then afterwards, take some time to talk about the spiritual principles, to talk about the stories and what significance they have and relevance they have in your life. What then happens is it moves to a deeper and deeper level in your world. It becomes real and assists you to create the freedom in your life that your heart and soul so desire. So if you like this, I encourage you to watch it again, but also tune into our website here at seasidecenter.org. There, you can get some of my written material and take a look at it. You can read some of my spiritual prayers. You can even go to our online bookstore and order some of the books. And if you're so moved, what I greatly would appreciate is your financial support, which you could do online at seasidecenter.org. It is support like yours that assists us to be able to continue to do these kinds of gifts for humanity and send it out to the world. Because you know what? We are making a difference with this spiritual message. And because of support like yours, people are being touched in the farthest reaches of this planet, as well as our backyard, more than we could ever begin to realize. So I thank you from the fullness of my heart for making a difference.